It's almost too frightening to imagine this man obsessively stalking women, sneaking into their homes, assaulting them, forcing them to perform this bizarre cleansing ritual. But what may be most disturbing is who the attacker turned out to be. A man who understood what happens in the box all too well. That is, until he slipped up. Here's a second look with Jim Avila.
It's kind of like getting a life sentence without the jury and the judge. This is always going to be with me.
It was the worst night of 25-year-old Christy Mills' young life, woken from a dead sleep by the outline of a large man standing over her bed with a gun.
I was in shock, absolute shock. I looked at the door and saw the light there, and something just didn't seem right, and that's when I saw him.
And what does he say to you?
He said that, "I'm only here to burglarize you. I don't want to hurt you, but if you scream, if you make any noise, I'll shoot you." And the next thing I remember is he was on top of me in the bed.
But there was something odd about this gunman. Not only was he wearing a ski mask and gloves, he seemed strangely calm and methodical as he bound her with the kind of zip ties police sometimes use as handcuffs, and then coolly switched to duct tape when the plastic was too tight.
He actually taped all the way around my head so that I wouldn't be able to open my mouth at all. Tape over my eyes.
So you couldn't see?
I couldn't see, and then he actually took the pillowcase off my pillow and put it over my head as well.
That must have been scary.
Extremely. He seemed very assertive when he talked, not like somebody who's, panicking. He seemed like he really knew what he was doing.
The man sexually assaulted Christy for 45 minutes, then shoved her into the bathroom.
The water was running in the bathtub. I started to panic, and I thought he was gonna shoot me in the bathtub. Just over a month from my 26th birthday, and I was gonna die.
Did you know why he was putting you in the bathtub?
I didn't. I thought he was gonna kill me there.
Christy was forced to take a long bath, told to wash carefully, as her rapist calmly walked about her apartment, hiding her cell phone and removing the sheets from her bed, before slipping away.
I got out of the bathtub, took the pillowcase off and ripped the tape off my eyes. Was trying to pull the tape off and couldn't get it off. I actually ripped hunks of the hair out to get it off. And then I called 911.
2 years later, across town, the rapist found another victim, his fourth.
I awoke to someone coming in my room, and
Sarah, a 27-year-old restaurant manager, was attacked by the masked intruder just 6 weeks before her wedding.
at the beginning it was gun to my head, knife to my throat. Every single thing he did, he was physically threatening me.
That's an old group.
And these were detailed threats that revealed to Sarah her attacker was well prepared.
He knew everything about me, what my sister looks like, to what car my husband drove, my work schedule. He knew where I worked out, pretty much everything.
As with Christy, he was careful, binding her hands and covering her head with a pillowcase. And again, like Christy, he forced her into the bathroom for a long soak to wash away the evidence.
All I could think about was I can't have someone call my family, my fiance, my parents, my siblings, and tell them that I've been killed 6 weeks before I get married.
Although the rapist had wiped clean the physical evidence, he could not erase the details Sarah had memorized about him.
His height, weight, way he carried himself. He had very distinct, bright blue eyes. I knew, I would be able to pick them out as soon as I saw that person.
When you're staring into those eyes, and that's the only thing you can see and the only thing you can focus on, they stick with you.
Some of the things that happened and what he would say and tell these girls as he's assaulting them, I mean, I get chills and it just disgusts me.
And what he and his partner Matthew Dick heard from the victims led them to believe they were dealing with a special kind of rapist, a man who wanted to know intimate details about the women he brutalized, a curiosity that earned him the nickname the boyfriend rapist.
He'd talk about observations he'd made of their life, talk about knowing about their roommates and boyfriends.
He's actually engaging in conversation rather than just the quick act of violence.
And they were intrigued by the way the rapist took the time to clean up and dispose of biological evidence.
Were you surprised that in a rape you wouldn't have some kind of DNA?
Not necessarily, because he was wearing condoms. You know, he was doing things, you know, to prevent DNA from being left behind. So it was very obvious to us that this was a sophisticated criminal and knew what he was doing.
Local police turned to the FBI for help, and surprisingly, the agents told them because of the unusual, intimate nature of the attacks, they should not look for someone with a criminal history.
The one thing they did tell us that I'll never forget is that this would be some guy that everybody he works with will say, nah, he couldn't do that, he wouldn't do that. You know, and it'd be somebody that would be maybe a respected member of the community. It was definitely somebody that was a CSI buff or something, maybe security, military, former police.
Somebody that had some knowledge of police procedure.
Police had no prime suspect, and as they struggled, the boyfriend rapist was stalking his next victim.
I didn't even feel comfortable going outside by myself. That's how much my life changed. It's like my home became a prison.
29-year-old executive assistant Jonelle Galuska had reason for alarm. For more than a year, she knew she was being watched by someone tracking her closely enough to provoke a midnight confrontation with her then-fiancé on her front lawn.
As soon as Scott asks this person, "What are you doing out there?" the guy's immediately arguing with him. He's trying to tell Scott that he's out there fishing.
He was staring up at our bedroom window with black gloves on, no fishing equipment whatsoever. So then that's why I started asking him more questions.
This guy just keeps arguing with him, and it makes no sense whatsoever.
And I had the baseball bat raised and I was ready to swing at him.
The man disappeared. Months later, Jonelle is awakened from a sound sleep in the middle of the night by her startled dog.
He is just barking uncontrollably. And I flip all the lights on, I walk out to the front door, and there's nobody there. And I had a strange feeling.
Unfortunately, on that June night, Jonelle's Army Ranger fiancé was away training, and she was alone.
And I hear a knocking out the door, like an urgent knock. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe there's just kids out there pranking. I don't know. I have a really bad feeling.
So Jonelle called 911.
I'm just knocking on the door, but anyway, my dog is going crazy.
Hey, what's your address, man?
Bloomington police officer Dave Zemer responded to the call of midnight pranksters bothering the neighbors.
I walked towards the back of the house because I already saw that no one was in the front. I thought I saw a fence, so I stopped and turned around and walked back towards the front of the house.
So you get to about here in between the house that called you
Yes.
and the house next door. And what do you see here?
Once I get to right here, I see a person standing against the house there in the north with his back up to the wall.
In the glare of Officer Zemer's flashlight, the intruder turned and walked away.
As soon as he turns around, I yell, "Police, stop, police." I didn't know if he was going for a gun or a weapon. I draw my gun and point at him and yell, show me your hands.
The man in the shadows turned around, and Officer Zemer was shocked to see someone he knew all too well.